I laughed fully, for the first time, with my eyes hanging dislodged at the ends of their optical nerves, dangling and bouncing against my cheeks, before I swung each one around my head, left and right, horizontally, but never up or down, like a failed game of paddleball, like tetherball with ropes attached to a pole grown sentient and self-aware, because what else could I do, with my eyes hanging dislodged at the ends of their optic nerves? So I let out a laugh, shook my face into a blur, and then tried to see all at once, in every direction around me. Thanks so much. The city gave birth to that which engulfs it in flames, with a stream of liquid fire raining down from sunset and towers rising like teeth towards the high blood moon. But worst of all, their ash symbols mark the outer shells of our buildings while they construct charred structures in their image. While as fate closes her window's shutters, and though I desperately seek sanctuary, I still fear any force of the power to endure. And while noir rain pounds down on this dim house with only a secret front door leading in, behind an alley, down a flight of unused stairs, awake in the kitchen, our radio plays static. Smoke billows across the TV's dark image, and I'm singing gentle songs, the kind you sing burning out at dawn. After a power surge through the outlet where you've plugged yourself in, fries you in a slow burn for months with low crackling, buzzing currents of electricity. Thank you. The next one is basically my tribute to kind of David Lynch, because that's made a big impact on me. When I watched Mulholland Drive for the first time, and when I was about 17, it completely floored me. And the references to static and diners and coffee and nonlinear surrealism and vinyl records is really playing tribute to that. I'm seated somewhere far away in the Glass Falls Diner, with an atmosphere of coffee rising reassuringly from white porcelain cups. But when the server drops one to the checkered floor, they'll pick it up without spilling a drop, while no one flinches, but their forms start to flicker, and I feel calm, perfectly stable, hands folded on the formica table, wondering about passionate escape and wishing for amnesia on a faraway beach, where the records are blank, with no rings cut into black vinyl, and playing them never triggers a mass of shrieking harmonics time might transpose into a symphony. Only silence, quietly accompanied by just the slightest static fuzz, popping and crackling occasionally to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that this nothing was made. This abyss is real, because the real abyss has gravity, and some mind, somewhere, conceived of its creation? Thank you. The violence of the beast didn't break me as completely as the sight of it casually slouching away, admiring bellflowers and summoning a portal back to its realm. The sharp crack of its tail left swollen cuts that healed more quickly than the sting the lack of recognition on its face made in my mind when I hunted it down and woke it up, before sending it back to the same place since grown around me like a black cloak, blocking out concussions of darkness while somehow still letting through songs sung in secret by the dead beast's human disciples. Thank you. You will never hear sentences so elaborately and carefully constructed as the wishes now made to genies, so airtight, filled with dashes and semicolons that they're immune to any cruel, ironic Twilight Zone interpretations, leaving the occupants of magic lamps brooding behind folded arms, nostalgic for an era when well-wishers spoke carelessly, so that genies could openly engage in the malevolent manipulations usually reserved for the gods. Thank you. They said he felt too much, with too much sensitivity, that he'd only survive by transmuting epinephrine into Valium, spectacle into routine. And after countless sessions of meditation and reflection, medication and talk therapy, he made the mistake of thinking that he'd finally mastered his heart rate after 3.5 hours of uninterrupted pornography. But I find that the best meditation for living in the moment through a detachment from time is to hide your hand casually beneath your clothing, as if to scratch an itch, while you raise your middle finger, when your triggers trap you and wrap you in a cosmic swaddle of claustrophobia, because they'll have no idea how close they stand to the truth that they fear. If you can smile and nod in polite agreement when you hear me say that, of course, kerosene cures flames, then congratulations, for you will have finally traded the compassion of your vulnerable youth for the sociopathic perspective reaching the end of the line requires, from which a life's potentially endless descent down through hell's pandemonium looks like a personalized sitcom, filled with self-sabotaging, unsympathetic characters so that you never need to feel the deep cuts that are made by empathy's surgical blades. Thank you. I hurled my body against the cinder block wall, falling down face first to the bone-covered ground. Each time my textbook of subatomic physics promised enough room between atoms for a universe. But science doesn't move me alone, because the arts appeared as a cry I heard from the wall after I fell, when I shouted in shock and despair at my limit, figuring the sound came from my soul on the other side of the wall, imprisoning dreamers while killing off amnesiacs forever, until its engineers are granted their hypothesis, when we transcend the barrier both physically and psychologically at the same time. Countless epigraphs to their efforts sit etched into its space, mocking broken bodies in the dirt, under a barricade with no end to the left, to the right, or above, in our limited vision of unchipped gray stained by blood. A man disappears from sight, then comes back running into the wall. Disappears from sight, then comes back running into the wall again while wearing a Medal of Honor. Disappears from sight, then comes back running yet again while wearing colorful clown pants decorated with a purple heart squirting water. Distinguished, becoming ridiculous, and then a ridiculous parody of distinguished before knowing the madness you don't know and have never known. Not here. Thank you. No one loses their mind. They simply open the door to their skull and reveal the abandoned orphanage and the haunted cities lying deep inside. Thank you. I didn't ask the sound engineer exactly why my window cranked open amplified distant sounds from the direction of where it went ajar. I had a vague idea, but liked imagining that my window was a doorway instead, to the wisdom collected by unfettered winds, gathering crisp spring air and fall's sweet decay, alongside my neighbor's operatic vitriol, performed in a voice so used to contention that early stage escalating argument was its normal speaking tone, its permanently set volume. A classically trained projection for his theater of the driveway, always one half of a phone conversation, as if he were Peter Sellers in the role of Dr. Strangelove's president, Bob Newhart's deadpan half of a pretend call, or a commedia dell'arte version of High Theater's family agitation. I heard how fucking stupid some fucking guy is so many times. I confess that I may have, on one or two occasions, escaped being deceived thanks to the skepticism his ramblings reinforced. And that maybe, here or there, I found it inspiring to hear a gaunt, skeletal man declare so confidently that he's not afraid of anyone, in a stiff breeze that might blow him over, while also carrying on the seed of that determination to germinate in whoever dares turn their ears towards the white noise of the wind. Thank you. After burning $3 billion, our government finally built a being with abilities beyond scientific reasoning. The subject who made it gained strange, specific powers for transmuting any liquids bottled into Molotov cocktails, an alchemist changing water into combustible fluids, all lids into burning wicks, all containers into breakable glass, and any kind of bottling plant into a warehouse, stockpiling lethally incendiary weapons. Despite that, their super soldier never saw activation, because administrative officials couldn't agree on a codename designation. Literalists wanted Captain Molotov. Educated diplomats with extra erudition thought General Midas was a better, more creative moniker for someone whose touch gave purified matter a practical military application. But in the end, it wasn't semantics or a capacity for creating eternal flaming agony that sparked the project's cancellation. It was worry over potentially showing the world how to make heat lamps for free, and how to turn water into petrol as valuable as what's sold by anyone's geopolitical rivals. That would be the day if, as the Scottish play states, real leaders gone astray have to face how far they've fallen through increasingly deranged displays of pathetic fallacy. Ones which plainly say how the world's balance has been displaced, where the king's horses break free of their stables and eat one another on the night of his murder. We have an easier time deciding society's path with similarly explicit, hideously misaligned signs of nature appearing alongside a nation's soul during each stage of its downfall. Maybe rabbits will stretch falcons over torture racks they've constructed out of sticks and woven leaf stems should our figureheads align with vile players using nihilistic hate as their prayer. For now, we can at least begin by opening windows and filling evenings with lamentings and strange screams of death again. Thank you. The only beings fearing an apocalypse are those who never rebuilt in the aftermath of a prior one. Should you be nervous? That depends on whether you feel connected to the marble faces lining this palatial gallery, trembling under incoming crescendos of percussive artillery, or whether your spirit aligns with insects crawling over a shattered visage, practicing supreme mindfulness in their focus on survival, their colony, and only what's within their control. Unlike the sad spectacle of seeing a sculpted idol go to pieces, and compare its suffering to French revolutionary tyranny after facing criticism for the first time since a career's formative years of humble infancy. I once thought all wars ended. They had to, inevitably. Never expecting ages' revelation of just how eternally stubborn conflict can be. The way unprocessed battles carry on indefinitely. Spiritually even, once curled up physical dimensions collapse as a graveyard of unfinished scenes left hanging. Panting climbers holding hooks they've dug into walls of a tower whose occupants won't open windows until scaling beings learn polite breathing. Or a hilltop fort, where one warrior, halfway up the slope, waist deep in mud in the bodies of their brethren, fires an infinitely loaded Kalashnikov at fortifications, promising they'll lower the gate once our warrior lowers their weapon, and fixes that attitude, though they won't. So long as the belief persists that ceasefires do nothing but invite insidious critical strikes. So they freeze on. Paralyzed tableaus and static standoffs, each driven relentlessly into their present. Thank you. I first performed words I'd written with punk bands, in stale beer-smelling small clubs downtown, or whatever random spot we found. A half-finished internet cafe in Brampton, somebody's basement, community centers, the movie theater's parking lot, or a karate dojo in Oakville. It wasn't winning bank-sponsored, promising young writer of tomorrow prizes with ceremonies and dignitaries giving praise. If you want to unlock my inner punk singer, simply pick out a human being, and then deify them in front of me. Say you actually can't believe you're really in their presence, and my eyes will roll so far back, I'll be inspecting my own brainstem. I'm not a high modernist waxing poetic on BBC. Honestly, I feel more affinity for the Sex Pistols saying fuck on TV, dissing royalty, and Johnny Rotten pulling back the curtain on Britain's beloved Jimmy Savile. And when the predatory celebrities of our world fall, I don't want to be their constant companion in photo albums. My sympathies will always lie with whoever is struggling against the odds to crack through concrete terraces, and not the sculpted idols atop them. And before you cheer or agree with me, please check your skin for any cold patches of stone slowly forming. Where you see glowing prophets, I see Lovecraftian gods. Where you see superheroes, I see beings hovering above accountability. I'm not a quantum-powered comic character. I'm closer to a bruised street ninja battling out of breath with his scream-a-sticks. Because undefeated fighters don't inspire me, but those who have won some, lost some, without a championship belt, who went on past their prime, never ducking anyone, fighting anywhere, anytime. Those are personalities with which I can identify. And while I am still dedicated to the High Table's destruction, I'm not some smooth-moved, suited-up John Wick. I'm more John McClane, barefoot, bleeding, freaking out, and foul-mouthed. So to every untouchable legend, everyone beyond reproach, everyone for whom the cavalry arrived, everyone richly rewarded by currently installed systems which they won't admit beat down others while boosting them, everyone so immune to criticism they crumble like dry dog shit in strong winds, every discount canlit Byron abusing positions of influence to creep on femme poets, and every established person who has essentially asked me, "Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?" I only have one thing left to say. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers.